Welcome to Courageous Creative Conquerors. I'm your host, Jean Boyce Dart, Expressive Arts psychotherapist, credentialed teacher, and coach. It's my belief that we are all courageously creative and destined to navigate our way through life, learning how to feel, reveal, and heal. And we do this safely and effectively through the expressive arts. Hi everyone, Jean Boyce Dart here. I'm the host of Courageous Creative Conquerors, and I have my special guest here, Kathy Harmon-Luber. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Jean. It's so great to see you and be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. And Kathy has so many things to offer. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and what you love?
Great. Thank you. I am an author. I'm a sound healing practitioner and Reiki master. And I combine all of those things to help people on the healing journey. And arts is a part of that, the expressive arts. Yes.
So is the arts the golden thread that connects everything together with you? The
It
expressive
really
arts?
is. It really is, Jean. Art has been a part of my life, probably like a lot of our listeners since I was a little girl. And anytime I was going through something at school, at home, with friends, being bullied, uh, anything that I was going through, illness, injuries, art always got me through. And as I got older, I started having more illnesses and bigger injuries. I was really into sports and had a lot of sports injuries and chronic pain and things like that. And again and again, the arts, all of the arts, from visual arts to music and sound healing, yoga, dance, you name it, everything in the arts has helped me to really find my center, to listen deeply, and to hear the healing wisdom, and also just it helps mentally and emotionally as well to center and ground us. So yeah, it has very definitely been the thread through my life.
Well, when did it shift? Around what age or what was happening? When did it shift from being something as a child that you enjoyed doing or a young adult to recognizing, hey, this is therapeutic, this is healing? When did that shift,
Mm.
and when did your vocation shift into that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say probably when I was in my 20s or 30s, I really began to realize that the arts were healing for me. I went through a lot of things, as we all do, changes, loss, all kinds of things. And I recognized around that time, my 20s to 30s, that art was more than just something I enjoyed to do, and was more than just making a pretty painting or playing beautiful flute music. I recognized it as the thing that healed me, along with nature and exercise and other things. But art, I would say more so than anything, because I could do it anywhere. Yeah.
Very powerful. And when that shift happens, I think it's life changing.
Oh
Now
yeah.
you're not, and that's what the expressive arts are all about. It's not
Yeah.
about what you've created or what you're doing with the art or how perfect it is. It's about the journey from the beginning of working on the art piece or making a song, creating music. It's that journey from there to the end and that release of the emotions or the pain through the art activity.
Exactly. That is the healing part. And, right now in these times that we're living in, the world is a challenging place all over the world. And everyone experiences stress. We all know stress leads to disease. That's well documented. And it affects our mental health. And one of the best things that we can do for ourselves and for our families and our communities is to really work to embody a sense of peace, and calm. And the arts, all of the expressive arts help us to do that. Yeah.
Well, is it always calm, or can it help us when we want to fight and we want to get some loud noise out?
Oh,
Can
yeah.
we also not just always calm?
Yeah, of course. You know, I always talk about it, especially to my clients, because so many of them right now need calm and
Yeah,
stress release, right? But think of any emotion that we can have, any emotion that we can have. We can channel that productively through the arts,
yes,
through dance, through a musical instrument, through photography, through the visual arts like painting or drawing, and even other arts like gardening. Gardening is an art, and baking and cooking and planning menus, all the things we can bring our creativity to. Anything that we can bring our creativity to,
yeah,
can we can channel all of those emotions, the difficult ones, uh the ones that, you know, so often as children we are told, you're too much, you are you are just too much, your emotions are too much, right? We're told that in school, we're told that sometimes in our families or out in society, or wherever we are, you know, to rein it in. You shouldn't be too emotional, whatever the thing is. And that's a societal conditioning, right? It's not necessarily a healthy one. And when we are experiencing difficult emotions, anger, um, depression, any, pick any emotion, it's not good, as we all know, to bottle it up inside. That does lead to dis-ease. And so the arts are great for dancing it out, singing it out, painting it out, whatever really helps us to feel better, to feel heard, to be able to express our authentic emotions, our authentic voice without worrying what people think. Again, like we've both said, you know, this is not about creating something beautiful for people to admire. It's about getting the emotion out of us and channeled into something creative that is healing. Yeah, I love that.
yes. Well, I know for myself, was traumatized early, early on after graduating high school, and I had planned on being a performing artist. We share that in common with the
Yes,
with
we do. I
Yes,
know.
I had planned on majoring in music, and after that, uh, I shifted to music therapy, becoming a licensed psychotherapist, and that just completely changed my life. Working
Mm,
with the expressive arts with people in grief and trauma and chronic pain, and also my own body journey living with pain, using wheelchairs and trouble walking and these things. It shifted me completely from where I was. And I know you had that same shift. You want to talk a little bit
yes.
more about your body and how your life journey has been just cradled and changed through the expressive arts, and how you did that when you're flat on your back. You have
Yeah.
amazing story. How you continue to participate with the expressive arts, and I do understand that working with people, comatose people,
Yeah.
paraplegic, all different kinds, but it's still possible. It's still possible to participate in the expressive arts. And I think that's what it makes it so valuable. And so, how did you manage that with your physical challenges?
So many people have gone through something like you and I, right? And so um I always wanted to major in the arts, but I wasn't permitted to. And then I started working for nonprofits. So that's been my career. I've had this wonderful career, but I've always done the arts in my spare time, right?
Yeah.
So fast forward to 2016, I'm living the life of my dreams as a nonprofit executive on boards of directors, still doing my art and photography and music and sound healing and all the things. And in December of 2016, I had the fourth disastrous spinal disc rupture. For those who don't know, spinal discs are like little jelly donuts between your vertebrae. And I had this before. It usually healed in a couple of months. This one was horrendous. It left me bedridden for 5 years. And bedridden to the extent that, took me it took me so many months, years to be able to even comfortably walk to the bedroom door. It was such, I call it the universal smackdown because it obliterated everything from my life. My work, I could do a little bit, but lying flat on my back. I was performing classical flute every weekend up until that point. I couldn't play my flute anymore.
Couldn't lift it up, could you?
Could not lift it up.
Yeah.
Exactly. And could not stand at my easel, couldn't very well paint from flat on my back in bed. And I became very depressed, frankly. I went down the deep elevator shaft of despair, frankly. And one day, I love to collect quotes by inspiring people. And I was reading some inspiring quotes, and I thought, Kathy, you have a choice to make. Like, you could either continue to be very depressed and one day be a bitter old woman, or you could choose something different. What are you going to choose today? And I really sat with that, Jean. And I thought, okay, the list of what I cannot do is very big. I couldn't do anything for myself. And what can I do? Well, I could write, and I was writing on my computer, and that's how my first book was born, right? Um, I thought, well, I can't stand at an easel, I can't stand up at all and paint. I will sketch flat on my back. I'll sketch, and I did. I felt so freeing, and I used to love to ride horses, so I started sketching horses, right? And that felt like a new world to me almost. Yeah.
What exactly is happening, in your opinion, when you felt like another world, when you felt that great relief? You're flat on your back
Yeah.
in first place. How do you sketch if you're flat on your back? And what is happening? Uh, I don't know, psychologically, medically, what's happening that makes you feel so good? Tell us, in
Yeah.
your opinion, what happened.
Yeah. So how I did it is I took my little sketch pad, my 9 by 12 sketch pad, and I put it vertically up and down on my belly. And I like this, I'm sketching.
Yeah.
It was very different. It wasn't the usual way of sketching, but with it there was like this freedom. There became like this, well, I'm curious. What can I do? And this is the antidote to everything, I believe, is getting curious. Because I don't know if you've ever noticed this, or our listeners have, but you cannot be curious about something and go down the rabbit hole of exploration and be sad, angry, have monkey mind, uncontrolled thoughts. If you are really absorbed in what you're doing, it's pure curiosity and staying with that curiosity, which we don't always do in life, but when we can, it leads to this sense of bliss and joy. It's that sense of flow where time stands still, like you lose all track of time. And I did. The other thing was, I could not play my classical flute out to the side like this, but I said to my husband, he says, you have to try to play your Native American flutes. And I said, okay, go to my studio and bring me one. And flat on my back, I can't say it was easy, the breath control, because you're flat on your back, right? But you have workarounds. You find ways of doing it that aren't your usual way of doing things. And that's the other thing. Find workarounds, because when everything is more or less taken from you, you have to find a new way of doing it. And so I laid flat on my back and I took great big belly breaths and I started playing my Native American flutes. And it was the same way. I got curious. How can I do this? What do I have to do differently to get a better sound? And then how can I just meditate on the sound and not try to play things? Certainly not like when I play Native American flute, I don't use sheet music or anything like that. I just play from my heart. how can I listen to my heart and play and explore that? And then I started thinking of, I live in the mountains, as you know. There were these beautiful mountain ridges, and I couldn't go hiking, right? So I would think about what those mountain ridges look like, and I would say, oh, the notes can go, and I'd play them on my flute. The notes can go from low to high, and then they can warble around, and they can go a little higher and then come down. And so I started using, and I did it with a tree line outside my window. How can I explore and get curious about everything that I might not even have seen before? Like our tree line out our window. I never thought, why don't I play that as music when I was completely able bodied? I never said that to myself. But I thought, how can I get curious of that? When we're curious, we cannot be in this place of despair.
Yes. Would you say curiosity and creativity go hand in hand?
Yes, of course they
Um,
do. They really do, right? Because no matter what we do, even when we're able-bodied and we can sit and paint or stand at an easel or dance or anything, why do the same thing the same way all the time? Why not get curious about, like, I wonder what this feels like or sounds like? And then I got curious with my voice. And I tell this story in our beautiful book about the expressive arts, about how one day I just got curious with, I do a lot of breathing exercises. The breath work, as we all know, is so grounding and centering. And when we're stressed out or upset emotionally, taking those deep belly breaths are so healing. So I would do a lot of that. And then on one of the breaths, I just started humming. And I went, oh, that feels really good. How nice. I haven't hummed in a while. And I kept humming. And then I got curious with humming, and I thought, I can hum just fine flat on my back. This is really neat. And it was something that I had been in this deep, dark place that I hadn't even let in the things that I know and love. I love to hum. I love to sing. I used to hum all the time at the grocery store. I'd hum outside to the trees. And when that disc rupture happened, it was a it was a huge disruption to everything in my life. And I forgot all the tools in the toolkit. And
yes.
humming was an important tool. Singing was an important tool. Sketching was an important tool. All the things that we can do that we sometimes just do in our regular life. When there's a disruption, it's this decision point. How am I going to move forward? Everything in life is a choice, as we know, but every moment in life is a choice. What am I going to choose? I could sit here and cry and wallow in self-pity. Yep, that's a choice. Or I could choose something better. And at that point, I just decided, a few months into this, I was like, I have to look at every single moment of every single day as a choice point. What am I choosing right now? What am I choosing? And that's one of the biggest, I think, things that we can remember on any healing journey. And healing journey can be from healing, of course, physically or mentally or emotionally. It could be healing from loss. It could be healing from job loss, relationship loss, loss of a loved one. We can apply this to anything that happens to us. And as I've said to you before, I have an Andean shamanism teacher who teaches things don't happen to you. Nothing in life happens to you. It happens for you. It's happening for you to teach us, to help us to grow spiritually, to self-realize, our self-realization path. Everything happens for us. And so when we can look at anything, even those huge, awful things that happen to us in life, as something that's happening for us so that we can grow. And then through that lens, we look at our life and say, I have a choice. I can do this, or I feel like I need to express myself. How can I get in touch with my heart and soul and express myself authentically and not shy away from that, not care what other people think? Other people don't even have to see or hear what we do. why not just express ourselves authentically? It's so healing.
My husband and I had a crazy situation with our back. We call it the breezeway, it's like a porch kind of area,
Mhm.
and we weren't able to fit it to code because we had a small amount of property to get the stairs down from that level. And so we had to find a creative way
Mhm.
to turn around the corner with a stairway to get outside. And my husband's saying, we just can't do this, Gene. We're going to have to do something. It's not going to work to get the stairs going down. And so I said, well, why don't we just start building stairs in the middle of the room? So
Hmm.
we're starting the steps going down inside the room and going down and going around the corner. And so it worked out perfectly. And
Thinking outside the box, right?
yeah, it worked out perfectly. So being that courageously creative person can apply to all life,
Oh,
not
for
just
sure.
musical instruments or paintings or, those kinds of things. It's that creative flow that we need in our society right now,
Yes.
and not listening to, no, this is what we do, this is what we don't do, and just, how about we do this? And research has shown that children that are raised creatively and allowed to express themselves and encouraged to draw and do art and all these different creative things are better able as adults to handle stress.
Yes,
Don't just automatically close doors. They think, well, why don't we do this way? So
that's right.
it's
That is the truth right there. When we show up for ourselves creatively, courageously, right?
Mhm.
It gives us even more courage to show up in our lives that way. So
Yes.
it does. It really gives us courage for life.
Well, applause to you for getting through all that. That's amazing. And
Yeah,
you
thank you.
certainly did draw upon your creative talents and memories and experience to get through something flat on your back like that. You had to open up to other possibilities. You did that.
Yeah,
Well, I was
thank
going to
you.
ask you for some easy tip for those who are feeling overwhelmed right now, and maybe they need a creative doorway to open for them. What can they do without buying a musical instrument or doing all these other canvas? Or what can they do if they're just sitting outside right now? Some practice that they can immediately have at their fingertips to get through life in a creative and courageous manner. Do you have a tip
I
for us?
do. I do. I have a lot of them, but I know we don't have time for too many. I want to share one that I alluded to earlier, and that is the simple act of breathing, big belly breath. We all know breathing is so good for us, but to transform that breathing into a hum, or if you feel brave, into a song. It doesn't even have to have words that make sense. It could be tones. The reason I say humming, we could have talked about any kind of form of creativity, dance or anything. But the reason I say humming and singing is because they stimulate our vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the nerve that wanders through the body. It begins with the tragus of our ear. It wanders through all of our organs. And actually, Jonathan Goldman, who's a pioneer in sound healing, talks about how humming, the humble hum, is a massage for all of the internal organs. The vagus nerve controls things that we don't think about, like blood pressure, our pulse rate, heartbeat, digestion, breathing, all the things that we do not have to think about. So what better way to down regulate your entire system if we're stressed out, nervous, um, maybe just by watching the news or something that's going on in our families, to take a moment to hum. And this really works. There's a lot of scientific research behind this, by the way. It's not just me and a few other people saying this. There are scientists who are showing that things like humming and singing actually do bring blood pressure and heart rate down. It helps us so much. People hearing me hum in the grocery store, they always smile. And then sometimes you'll be down the next aisle and they'll be humming.
Yeah.
So it sets an example for other people too, in a way that's beautiful and healing. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that tip. That's great. We can start humming and, opening our hearts to more joy, more healing, more happiness. And it's just been a pleasure to have you here, Kathy. Thank you.
It's been a delight and an honor, Jean. Always good talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you, for listening and joining us today. And this has been Courageous Creative Conquerors, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.